And what did you think about Phil Kessel after the Buffalo game refusing to speak to the media? That's caused a bit of a stir here in Toronto. Bill, should he have taken the time to answer a couple questions, or is it just much ado about nothing?
No, it's not much ado about nothing. It's an impolite young man who should have known better. And if he didn't want to talk, he should have walked to them and said, "Gentlemen, I have no comment. I didn't play very well tonight, and I want to leave it at that."
100%.
And then there's been nothing said. He did. But get out of my way, or get away from me. I mean, this is immaturity at its very best, and it's not Phil Kessel's problem. He's a little boy playing in a man's game with skills that are so great and so impressive, and he's so immature. So immature.
But I'm on his side for not wanting to talk to the press. He was dejected. He didn't have anything to say, but I agree implicitly with the way he could have handled it would be like Bill Waters said. And somebody should have advised them that if you don't want to talk to the press, that's fine. But what you should do is go say to them, "Listen, guys, it was a horrible game. And, I really don't have it in me to answer any questions. So please use some decorum and respect it, and I apologize." And
especially if you're an $8 million guy, Frank, they look to you to have something to say. And if you say it politely, they're fine with it. I like Brian Burke calls the Toronto media pukes, Toronto hockey media. Well, the biggest puke that ever lived is Brian Burke. And there's nothing wrong with being a puke, except let somebody else call you a puke.
Yeah, well,
don't call other people a puke.
He says that the Toronto media is the biggest puke, and then he's the first media whore to try to get as much media coverage, please. Don't get me started on that fucking guy. He destroyed Toronto. So don't get me started on that guy. Please.
But you know what the bottom line here is? Phil Kessel doesn't want to speak to the media, and I think this year, and I think it goes right to the top, I don't think Brendan Shanahan's playing that game. He's saying, you out there and speak to him. If you don't want to, then we're going to force you to speak to him. And when he does speak to the media as a kind of a reason for not speaking to the media, to me it was like a Seinfeld episode, because he talked to the media about why he doesn't talk to the media. And he said absolutely nothing. And Bill, you talked about that may be a sign of immaturity. Again, it's another part of one component of this whole
I think Kessel's very uncomfortable. He's a very shy guy. He's very soft-spoken, and it could be, like Bill pointed out, it could be immaturity. But I just think it's his character. I think he's very shy, and he's very uncomfortable, and he was devastated, and like any player should have been, they should have been devastated. There's a great scene in the movie Moneyball with Brad Pitt, where the team's sucking bad before he turns it around. And he walks into the dressing room, and there's music playing, and they're all, and he says, "Are you guys fucking serious? Did you guys not just shit the bed? Did you guys just not lose a game?" And he broke the stereo with a baseball bat. But I'm just trying to tell you, I understand the way he was feeling, and I'm a big fan of Mr. Kessel, and for all the reasons that Bill said. One of the most talented guys. He's got a bag of talent, but he's still very. I don't know. I don't think he's got the confidence.
He's been playing in the league now for 6 or 7 years, and you're saying he's very young. I mean, how much more do you need to?
I didn't say that.
I said that. I said that he's not a young kid. He's been playing in this league for like 7 years. He's not a young kid.
Yeah, but
he's not young, but he's immature.
Well, there's the two differences. Frank is saying,
or Perry, he's plain and simply stupid. But I don't see that in him. I see an immaturity, and a teaching process would probably expedite the immaturity getting out of his system. And I think that it's not Kessel's fault that he says stupid things. It's the general manager and the president's. And if they don't sit Phil Kessel down and say, "Hey, Phil, here's a list of things that you can say." And you can say them any way you want. But don't say, "Get away from me."
Well, I think the president did step. This is what I think Brendan Shanahan is doing behind the scenes.
Guys, hang on. I didn't hear that. Did he actually say that to the? See, I didn't know that part.
He said to a reporter went in there and he said, quote, get away from me.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like they were taken aback. Either he's hiding behind some area where the reporters can't go, or in this particular case, he said, "Get away from me," which caused, he stirred up a hornet's nest that really didn't need to be stirred up.
Was this reporter? Did he get under Mr. Kessel's skin?
No, he just went in there and asked him a question before he could even get it out. Kessel says, "Get away from me." If he was pissed off because they lost, that's fine. But Kessel is so hard to read at the best of the times. This just created a controversy on top of a big loss.
I don't think it's a big deal, and who gives a fuck?
I think it's a bigger deal than you're thinking.
I don't think it's a big deal.
Well, if it's not a big deal, then why does everybody make it out to a big deal? Why did they put him out in front and force him to speak? Because he is a talented player who obviously is missing one thing from being a guy like Steven Stamkos. It's that one character within his whole composition that isn't there and may never, ever be there.
Maybe somebody's going to bring that out in him. You know what? Everybody's different. Some people get a player and they bring out the best of him, and other teams will take a player that has huge potential and something happens. And I'm going to give you a great example. A player that had huge, the Leafs had massive aspirations and thought that he was going to be the next guy was Craig. And was his first name Michael Craig?
Mike Craig, yep.
Mike Craig. And he did not pan out at all. Hey, Billy?
But Mike Craig isn't anything like this kid. Mike Craig had limited ability. This kid has tremendous ability. Boston got rid of him for a reason, and Boston got rid of Sagan for a reason. Because Boston looks at these players and say, how far can I go with these guys? And they've done very well without these guys. There's something...
Sagan's a great player. I think that's a big mistake for Boston getting rid of Sagan.
It may be a big mistake, but you know what? They do these things. They look at the players very quickly and analyze them and say, can we win with them going forward, or can we live without them? They decided they could live without Phil Kessel.
I'm just comparing. I think you're making a big deal or nothing. He told the reporter to fuck.
I don't think it's a big deal about nothing. I think you're underplaying. You're trying to coddle this kid for whatever reason. I have no idea.
If I was in that dressing room and I had a terrible, horrific game, I would be very dejected. And I would, it's annoying. They all jump in. I know it's part of the game, and the media needs to be there, and it sells tickets, and it's all a vertical integration, and everybody helps everybody. I just think that I've never heard of him being rude to anybody. So for him to be, he must have been at the end of his wits after that game, and he was frustrated. And I don't really give a fuck. It's not a big deal. Let's move on.
Well, I almost wonder, like...
I'll tell you, it'll be a big deal, because they can't, the teams cannot tolerate stupidity and rudeness when it comes to the people that are selling the game. And Bettman is very indignant about that. And I'm sure he's already spoken to Shanahan, because he got it full tilt here on Sunday, and just said, look, you got to take this guy aside and teach him what he has to do when it comes to times he doesn't want to speak to guys. Find another series of phrases that you can use. And I like to think that he has that kind of common intelligence, and they're going to make him do it.
I'm sure that a player of that level and the money that's vested in him by the Toronto Maple Leaf organization, they're going to sit him down and talk to him, and they'll come up with a solution. I think he's happy being in Toronto. I think it's just he's got a very, 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 very he's got a character that's extremely soft-spoken, and he's very shy.